Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you are brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for another apartment renovation in Evergreen Harbor. And I had this idea. Now, bear with me. I don't know if I brought this to fruition, so you guys are going to have to let me know. But as you can tell from the title of this video, I made this for a witchy bookworm. So I was picturing an actual spellcaster living here and that he or she is absolutely obsessed with books and like reading stories and learning new things and all that kind of fun stuff. Yes, I have Harry Potter on the brain. Can you blame me? I had got the old PC games working on Windows 10. I am stoked. I've talked about this so many times at this point, so I'm so sorry, but I am so excited. I've been playing them a little bit recently, and they're so much fun. I really just played them enough, actually, to see if they would work, if there was any, like, issues or anything like that, because I am going to stream playing through these games over here on YouTube, and I'm so stoked to do it. I know that I'm mainly Sims content, but this is going to be so nostalgic for me, and I figured it might be nostalgic for other folks too who played these back in like, what, 2001, 2002, I think, when they came out. So I'm really excited about that, but it kind of sparked this idea of making a over-cluttered apartment for a bookworm, and the witchy part just kind of came along with that, I suppose. But yeah, this apartment is so cluttered, and you might be able to tell, I'm not quite sure, but this apartment renovation, like the speed that the build is at is actually faster than most of my apartments. And that is because I cluttered this so freaking much that it honestly took so long. Like I really put some time into this one because I wanted it to be perfect in my eyes. I mean, nothing's ever perfect. Perfect is subjective, but I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted it to be so cluttered, and I wanted the clutter to look somewhat realistic. Like I didn't want to just put these two like book objects next to each other and say, yeah, that's a stack of books that looks totally realistic, like it's tumbling over or something. So I was kind of thinking, well, with magic, things can maybe be stacked a little bit funny. I'm thinking like Flourish and Blots, the bookstore in Harry Potter, where there's like stacks of books that are leaning and turning and twisting and twirling, and it's just magical and whimsical, and that was kind of my idea. I didn't go too hard down that route, but I probably could have used the tool mod to do that if I really wanted to dedicate myself to it, which I might do at some point. I didn't do it for this one though. But as you can see, this is kind of the living space, and I used a lot of different stacks of books. I tried to change up the swatches just to mix it up, and I was also thinking that this spellcaster loves plants. Like maybe these are all magical herbs and plants that they're kind of growing in their apartment or something like that. Maybe they're into, well, let's just say it, let's just call it herbology, right? Let's just call it herbology, because clearly this is just a Harry Potter inspired build, so I apologize. But I added like a bunch of like oil lamps and candles around here too, and they supply most of the light in this apartment. I didn't do any overhead lights actually, the more I think about it, because I really wanted it to be kind of authentic in that way, if that makes sense. And this living space doesn't have like a TV or anything, so literally this spellcaster sim that I'm imagining honestly spends all of their time just reading. Just reading. That's it. Reading, learning, absolutely it. I use those little kind of like cushions that are technically seats from City Living. I thought that was a really nice touch. And I used a mix of rugs for this apartment as well, like the tiny living one, as well as the one from Nifty Knitting that your Sims can actually craft. But thankfully, with that BB Show Hidden Objects cheat, you can unlock all of the craftables and go ahead and use them in builds, which is really nice. And I've probably said that like 5 or 6 times already, but I like to remind people, because when you open up your game with having Nifty Knitting installed and you look at the build and buy catalog, you're kind of like, this is a stuff pack. Like, where's all the stuff? So if you don't unlock all of that stuff, either by your Sims actually upping their knitting skill or using that cheat, you really don't have too much to go off of. So I always like to throw that reminder out there. But now I'm working on the kitchen, which I also cluttered with a ton of books. I ended up swapping out these counters for some different base game ones just because I didn't want this to look like a cottage per se. I wanted it to really look put together. I mean, it's a little awkward because I did this in Evergreen Harbor mainly because I enjoyed this apartment and how it was kind of laid out. But I think that it looks a little awkward only because this version, like this save that I'm working in, is not a save that I do anything specific with. It's really just for like building and playing around in. And it is modernized. Like it has the modern upgrades. So the windows are like those big modern kind of industrial windows that we got with that pack. And it looks a little weird. So just kind of ignore it. But at the same time, the window in the kitchen area here serves as a great shelf for more books and more plants. So at the end of the day, it actually kind of worked. And here you can see I am cluttering it up with quills and books and lamps and all that kind of fun stuff. I even put a typewriter that we have with base game. I think it's an unlock from a career. I think probably the journalism career or like the writing career, whatever it is. And I put that here, and I put like this little plant from base game because to me that strongly resembles a lot of the plants in like Harry Potter. Like I'm really thinking herbology here, and that looks like it could be a magical little weird plant. I don't know. And they have a little tea brewer because I definitely thought that this spellcaster drinks tea compared to coffee. It seems like a very, well, my association with like magic is very British. I mean, I love Harry Potter. That's pretty much where it comes from. So I thought tea was a little bit more appropriate. And as you can see, I'm cluttering up this little window here with some more books and plants, like I mentioned. And I thought it looked really cute. I think I even swap out one of the book clutter items with a little kind of antique looking tea set a little bit later on, which I thought was really nice. It was a nice little accent to this entire build. And I add these little like tea bags, as well as like a plant and a couple more things. There's even books stacked on top of the refrigerator, which is just wild to me. I was trying to look for opportunities to clutter up the kitchen without making it not functional. And I actually ended up putting an oil lamp on that counter to the right of the stove. I tried to shove it into the corner as much as I possibly could, but it did actually impede my test sim's ability to use a countertop. So I ended up deleting it, so it won't be there when you guys download this from the gallery if you choose to do so. That way it'll be fully functional and it won't be a problem. And even though this table has 4 chairs and probably looks a little congested in the kitchen, it works perfectly as well. I tested it out. My sim could get to every single chair and navigate to the living room, which was great. Though I did have to remove one clutter book item that was underneath one of the chairs in the living space because it actually blocked my sim from sitting there, which was kind of wild. And now I'm working on the bathroom. So the layout of this apartment's a little awkward. Since I was only thinking that it's one sim that lives here, I didn't worry about it too much. But basically you have to go through the bathroom to get to the bedroom near the back of the apartment. So it's a little odd, but it still works. I mean, your sim can navigate through it. It's just weird. That's pretty much it. And now I'm working on the bedroom. So I wanted there to be even more bookshelves in here. And again, since I was only picturing one sim, only one side of this bed is accessible. So what you end up having to do if you want to access both sides is I put like the trunks of books, like I put in that corner there, as well as some other stacked random clutter items at the end of the bed. So my kind of thought is that they could get to the bookshelf that I put over there, but they can't get to the other side of the bed. And unfortunately, that like scooting feature that we either used to have or do currently have, like I can't get it to work ever, like literally ever. I'll assign, the opposite side of the bed to my sim to see if they'll go ahead and prioritize and scoot over, and it won't work. So I'm not really sure what happened there, or if it's just me. I mean, I could just totally be doing it wrong, but it doesn't really work anymore, so that is kind of a downfall. So I apologize if you do want to use the other side of the bed. You'll have to get rid of this clutter at the end of the bed, as well as that bookcase most likely, because I believe it will in fact block your sim's ability to get there. So just a heads up. But I'm adding some random clutter items to these bookshelves here. I love these because all of the books are kind of like strewn about on the shelves, which I thought was really nice. It made it look a little bit more chaotic and a little bit more thrown together. Maybe like these books have been here forever and they just keep tossing them on there and taking them off and, all that cool stuff. And here I am swapping out one of those books with the tea set, like I mentioned. And then I actually remove that bookcase over here in this corner because I realized I couldn't really get a dresser in there that matched the aesthetic I was going for. So I end up taking it out and just grabbing this dresser here from Outdoor Retreat. I add a mirror above the dresser, as well as, you guessed it, more book clutter items. You actually can't access the dresser either, by the way. It is so cluttered and I add so much stuff in front of it on one side that my sim could not access the dresser, which I'm not usually worried about. I mean, you can literally click on your sims and have them change outfits, so For me, at least in my gameplay, it wasn't a huge deal, but just a heads up, if you do prefer using the wardrobes to change your Sims up, you won't be able to access it here. You'd probably just have to remove the clutter in front of it compared to the clutter on top of it, though sometimes the clutter on top actually prevents your Sims from using it. So yeah, but this is actually nearing the end of the build. I add a couple of decorations here, and then I just decorate the little front entryway. I kind of saved it for last, honestly, not even on purpose. But I hope that you guys did enjoy this build. It was a little bit weird, and the setting is a little odd, but I had a lot of fun, and I really liked picturing a spellcaster in here just reading their spell books all the time. So yeah, I can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts, and I will catch you guys next time I post a video. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.
Dirt underneath my fingernails and worn out shoes. I never thought that I would fall for someone like you, an uptown girl without a single